Do you like to hear heartwarming stories of kindness? I've got one today that will not only restore your faith in humanity, it'll restore your faith in God. How is it we can do some amazing and sometimes unexplainable things, like heal our own bodies by the power of our thoughts? Mother's intuition, the law of attraction. Can we really tap into our subconscious mind? Can we really create our own realities? It begs the question, are we novice gods? Don't you love to hear stories about kindness? Kindness is one of those things that for me just lights me up. I love hearing just these great heartwarming stories of kindness. It inspires me to be a better person. And I gotta tell you, I have a great one to share with you. It's absolutely true, happened just this last weekend, and anyway, excited to share that with you. So the story is, my daughter lives about an hour and a half away. She lives in this small town. She's a school teacher there, and she's new to the town. She doesn't know anybody. Well, her car broke down and needed a jump, so I went off to rescue. The only problem is I live an hour and a half away up in the mountains. I live up above Sundance, and as I'm driving there to go jump her car, as I come up over what's called Parley's Canyon, it's this big, huge hill that in the summertime you always have semi-trucks pulled over that have broken down. It's a hard hill to get up. And as I'm going up over Parley's, I look down, and on my instrument panel, my battery light is going on. And I thought, well, that's a bad sign. You know, here I am coming to jump her car, and my own car is having battery issues. Uh-oh, we'll see how this turns out. So when I got to her house, I kept the car running because I was a little bit nervous about how, what it's going to be like if my car is already having battery trouble. How is that going to work exactly? So I kept it running while I shoveled her driveway. She had like 8 inches and she was just kind of packed in there. And then I pulled my car in next to hers and hooked up the jumper cables like you do. And I had her go to turn her car over and it didn't work. And so I wrestled them a little bit and I thought maybe I don't have a great connection. Had her try it. Still nothing. So we thought we'd charge it for a little while. I continued to shovel around and get the driveway cleared out. And then this time I hopped in my car and I decided I was going to rev up my car and really get the RPMs going. So there's a lot of juice flowing, and then that's going to transfer over and jump her car. And as I hop in and I'm revving it up, when she goes to turn her car, not only do all the lights start dimming in my car, but my car starts to stutter. Like my car is running, and when she goes to turn it over, it's like making my car skip. Well, I hadn't experienced this before. And I look over at my daughter, and she looks at me. She's a little bit worried. She's not sure what to do. And so I do what any red-blooded male guy would do, and I gave her the thumbs up and yelled, "Just give it a shot," and then she does. And as she cranks it over, the lights dim and dead, like my car died and everything died. It just totally sucked all the remaining power out of my battery that I had. So I hopped out, unclicked all of the jumper cables, and hopped in and tried starting my car, and it just went click, 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 click. There was like nothing there, no juice. Tried it a couple times. And then I did a very important thing. I bowed my head and I said a prayer. And I remember I prayed, "God, please help me get this. Please help this car start. And if not, will you help me find somebody who can help get it going?" And then I lifted up my head after the prayer and turned my car, and the same thing, click, 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 click. Oh no. So here I am, stuck way out in this town that has, we don't know anybody out there. And we've got 2 cars side by side that are totally broken down, no power to them. Yeah. And as I look out, I notice that there's this guy just getting into his truck. And it's this big old souped up, really nice truck. And I thought, hey, here's your answer to prayer. And I ran over and I asked him if he would jump our cars. And he said he would. And so we pushed my car out of the way, and we jumped hers, and it started up pretty much right away. And then he jumped mine, and it started up and kind of staggered, but it started. And so I'm thinking, okay, here we go. Great. The answer to prayer. We're going to hop in here. We're going to drive. We're going to just have the alternator charge up the battery as we drive on the freeway. Everything's going to be fine, except that I had such little power in my car that the lights inside, first of all the instrument panel, everything was dark. There were a couple little lights on, but all of the, like the fuel gauge and the everything, the tachometer, everything said 0. It just like killed everything. And when I go to turn on the lights, I could hear the engine start to stutter, like it was affecting the engine, and the lights didn't come on. So I'm like really struggling. I put it into gear, and it has like very little power. I mean, I can only go like 5 miles an hour. And I thought, okay, all I have to do is get it driving enough that I can get the alternator moving, and that's going to recharge the battery, and everything's going to be fine. Except no, it's not working that way. And I end up getting, finding a parking lot, just parking there, and realized I'm going to have to get a new battery. So my daughter, whose car is running right now, but we're afraid to let it stop because it's never going to start again, and we don't know anybody to get a jump. She drove me down. We looked at where an auto parts store was, and she drove me down to it. But before we got there, we saw this other auto parts store. So we stopped there. And as I started chatting, trying to get the attention of some clerks that work there to find out, first of all, okay, I know I have a dead battery, but do I also have a bad alternator? And what an alternator is it's this gizmo. I'll use the technical term. It's this gizmo in the car that when your car is running, it cycles through and it actually recharges your battery. So I needed to know, I know the battery's dead, but is the alternator also dead? Am I going to have to replace that too? And as I'm talking to the clerks, there's a customer there, and he's listening, and he's kind of chiming in on his wisdom every once in a while. And then he comes up to him and he says, hey, how about I help you out? Do you want to ride over to where your car is? I'm like, yes, thank you. And so he drives me about a mile up the road to my car. He asks the people there if he could borrow some tools so that he could fix the battery, pull out the battery. He goes and does that. His wife's been waiting in the car, by the way, while he was inside. So he goes up, helps me grab my battery, comes down to the auto parts store. I buy the battery. He takes me back up. He installs it for me. Like, he's really good. He's super smart technically, and installs the battery, and then says, how about I follow you down to the auto parts store and they can test and find out if the alternator's bad. So we drive back down there. I'm feeling great because the car's running, the lights are on, the tachometer's working, the engine's feeling strong, and we go down there and we test it, and guess what? Yeah, the alternator's bad. And they look at me and they said, where are you going? And I told them where I was going, and they knew about Parley's, and they said, there's no way you're going to make it up over Parley's in the nighttime with your lights on and not kill this battery that you've just bought and just put in. And so this guy, who has shown me such kindness, who has gone out of his way to take me up and down to get to my car, then says, how about I fix your alternator for you? Isn't that amazing? And not only that, he said, but will you go to dinner with my wife and I, because we're kind of hungry? And so we go and we get some sushi, and he was going to pay for my meal as well. I was grateful that he did let me pay for that, but he offered to fix my car for free to get me back on the road. And there's another super important part about this. As we're going over, as I'm following him over to his house, and he's smart. He knows his engines, he knows his mechanics. He's, a very talented worker, mechanical worker. And as we're driving over there, I'm thinking, this guy must have this really big garage with one of those industrial strength heaters, because as we've been standing outside checking out the car and everything, like, I am shaking. I am so cold. It's like 23 degrees and dropping. It's dark. It's cold. It's horrible. And we pull up to his house, and he's got a carport. He's got a carport with a single bulb light right above. And I'm just floored. I'm floored because he volunteered. He knew exactly what he had. He knew exactly that he would have to be out there in 23-degree weather that was dropping and getting colder, and then getting into the engine because he saw where the alternator was and he saw how jammed in it was. And he was doing that out of the goodness of his heart and all out of kindness. Now I want you to think about two things. I hope that this story restores your faith in humanity, because there are people like this man out there. I will say his name. His name is James. I don't think he would want me to reveal any other information about him, because he's a kind, humble man, and didn't do this for the glory and didn't do this for the money. He wouldn't take the money that I offered him. But I hope that restores your faith in humanity. But I also hope it restores your faith in God. Because you know what? When I bowed my head and I said that prayer, I said, please help me get it started, or if not, help me find somebody who can get it running. And that's what my new friend James did for me. He got it running. He did it out of the kindness of his heart, and my life is so much better because of that. I just want to share that with you, because remembering how connected we are, remembering how important it is to have love and relationships is so key. I did talk to him that evening and asked him why. Why did you do this? And he said, well, you looked like you needed help. I'm that kind of guy that looks like I need help. But he said, but I knew I had these skills that not very many people have, and I knew I could help. I hope as you think of that story and as you think about your life, that you think about what kind of gifts, what kind of skills, what kind of talents do you have that you could be a blessing in somebody else's life. I hope you think about that, and when you feel a prompting, when you feel a little nudge that says you should help that person out, I hope that you will share your gifts, your talents, the wonderful things that you have to help other people. What are your thoughts? You've had time to think. Now it's time for you to share. In the comments section below, share your thoughts, ideas, and questions, especially any insights that inspired you to take action. Of course, the best place to take action is at scottwilhite.com, because if you join me for a free web class, I will reward you with a purpose planner so you can start each day with confidence, clarity, and conviction. What if you are a God in the making? That would mean there's purpose to your life, meaning to your challenges. You have a great work to do. May you have the courage, faith, and power to become who you were truly meant to be. See you next time.